Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
My college friend group decided we needed a reunion trip to celebrate 10 years since graduation. We kept in touch through social media, but hadn't all been in the same place for years. Everyone wanted to spend a week at a beach house. In college, I worked part-time jobs while my friends partied. After graduation, I built my career as an accountant while they jumped between jobs or chased creative work that didn't pay well. By our 10-year mark, I was the only one with a stable job and savings. When planning the trip, everyone had big ideas, but no clear plan for the money part. I suggested splitting costs evenly and paying up front, but they said they didn't have enough cash. During our planning call, I told them I didn't want to cover everything because it was a lot of money. The first friend said they'd pay me back when we got home after getting a commission check. The second friend said it made sense for one person to handle the money, pointing out I was good with finances. The third friend reminded me we'd known each other forever and wouldn't leave me hanging. I agreed even though something felt off. I'd known these people for over a decade and thought I could trust them. I booked an Airbnb on the beach for $2,800. I drove everyone there, spending $300 on gas. I bought all the groceries for $600. Because everyone was short on cash, I paid for 2 fancy dinners for $650, plus other expenses adding up to another $650. I spent almost $5,000 while my friends paid nothing. The vacation was fun. We swam, hiked, played games, and talked late into the night. But there were warning signs. They ordered the most expensive menu items at dinner. They drank my expensive liquor without offering anything in return. They never said thank you. When we were packing to leave, I brought up the money. I told them I'd send everyone their share when we got back. About $1,000 per person. The first friend said they'd pay when their next paycheck came in. The second friend said to remind them if they forgot. The third friend said no problem. The fourth friend thanked me for handling everything. Their answers made me feel better. But a week passed, then 2. No one mentioned the money and no one answered my reminder text in the group chat. After a month, I messaged each of them directly. The first friend said they thought I was just being nice since I made more money than them, and asked if I could just pay for everything as a gift to old friends. The second friend said they were tight on cash and asked to talk about it in a few months. The third friend said I seemed okay with paying at the time and didn't think it mattered to me. The fourth friend asked if I was counting pennies and said friendship should mean more than money. I was shocked. I kept calm and told them I'd been clear about wanting to be paid back, and we all agreed before the trip. The first friend said I was being dramatic over just money. The second friend said if I'd been clearer about wanting repayment, they wouldn't have gone, adding not everyone had money like me. The third friend said this was why they didn't hang out with me more. Their responses made me feel crazy. They made me sound greedy for asking for money they promised to return. After this, they were always busy. When I suggested meeting up, my texts went unanswered. Social media showed them hanging out without me. They were avoiding me, hoping I'd forget about the money if they ignored me long enough. 2 months after the trip, I saw they'd posted many photos from our vacation, tagging each other and talking about their amazing time. The hypocrisy made me angry. I sent a final group text saying I'd tried to be patient, but it had been 2 months with no effort to repay their share as promised. I told them I felt used and disrespected. I gave them 1 week to pay, or I'd take further steps including small claims court and sharing what happened publicly. They responded right away. The first friend said they could send money that weekend. The second friend complained about threats and claimed they always planned to pay. The third friend said I was being hostile and we were supposed to be friends. The fourth friend asked if this was worth ruining our friendship. I told them our friendship was already damaged when they took advantage of me and then tried to make me feel crazy when I asked for repayment. I said it wasn't about the money anymore, but about respect. 3 of them sent the money that day. The fourth tried to work out a payment plan but gave in when I wouldn't budge. Within 2 days, I had all my money back. None have spoken to me since, except for one who texted that I'd changed and money ruined our friendship. I didn't answer. I realized these weren't real friends, but people who saw a chance to use someone who wouldn't make a scene. I've met new friends who respect boundaries and understand friendship isn't about what they can get from you. My old college group still hangs out according to social media. I wonder if they found someone new to pay for everything. I learned that if you have to front money, get it in writing. And if someone shows you who they are, believe them. I run a small clothing boutique in a strip mall. After working in retail for nearly a decade, I saved enough to open my own shop 5 years ago. I sell casual wear and accessories at reasonable prices. Last month, a middle-aged woman bought several items including a light blue polyester blend blouse. She seemed pleasant, complimented my selection, and said she'd recommend my shop to friends. That changed yesterday. I was arranging summer dresses when the door opened. The same woman walked in with a plastic bag. She went straight to the counter where my assistant was helping another customer. She demanded to speak to whoever was in charge. I went over and introduced myself as the owner. She put the plastic bag on the counter and took out what remained of the blue blouse. It was burned. She told me this was unacceptable and wanted a refund. I looked at the damaged blouse and asked what happened. She said it caught fire and called our products dangerous. I examined the blackened fabric with large holes and melted edges. I told her it looked like someone had set it on fire and asked if she had an accident. She said she was at her friend's house talking about fabrics. She told her friend this type of fabric doesn't burn easily. Her friend disagreed, so she took out a lighter to prove it. I asked if she intentionally set fire to the blouse. She said that wasn't the point. What mattered was that it burned when it shouldn't have. I explained we never claimed the material was fire resistant. It was standard polyester, which is flammable. She said we should have warned her, and she wanted her money back. Some customers stopped browsing to watch. Among them was a woman in jeans and a t-shirt who paid close attention. I told her I couldn't refund an item she damaged on purpose. It wasn't covered by our return policy. She said that was ridiculous and the customer is always right. I offered her a 15% discount on a new blouse instead. She got angry about the percentage, asking if I knew how much she spent in shops like mine. She said she could buy an entire rack if she wanted. I repeated that my offer was fair since the damage wasn't from a defect. She threatened to report me to the Better Business Bureau and leave bad reviews. I stayed calm but couldn't offer a refund for something she burned herself. That's when she grabbed a clothing rack and pushed it over. Clothes fell across the floor. My assistant watched as the woman took a lighter from her purse. She said she'd burn the place down if I didn't give her money. She lit the lighter and held it near a rack of dresses. I asked her to put it away. Before I could say more, the woman who had been watching stepped forward and pulled something from her waistband. She said she was police and told the customer to drop the lighter and put her hands up. She had a badge on her belt and pointed a gun at the customer. The lighter fell to the floor. The officer told her to keep her hands visible and get on her knees. The customer tried to say it was a misunderstanding, but the officer repeated her order. The customer knelt on the floor. The officer kept her gun pointed while making a phone call. Soon 2 police officers came in. They handcuffed the woman while the off-duty officer explained what happened. An officer told the woman she was under arrest for attempted arson, threats, and property damage. The woman protested, saying she just wanted her money back. As they took her to the patrol car, she looked back at me angrily. The officer said they needed statements from me and witnesses. He said she could face jail time. After they left, the off-duty officer came to me. She said she was just looking for a top for her daughter's graduation and didn't expect to make an arrest. I thanked her and said I didn't want to think about what might have happened without her. She helped me pick up the clothes from the floor. She said some people don't understand that actions have results. She'd never seen someone try to get a refund for something they set on fire. We laughed and I gave her a big discount on her purchase. It was the least I could do for someone who saved my business. I was working construction in a foreign country. Back home I had an engineering degree, but here it meant nothing. Immigration paperwork makes your qualifications worthless when you cross borders. When I first arrived, I was grateful to have any job that would sponsor my temporary work visa. The construction company seemed legitimate, and the site manager told me I'd be treated fairly. That was the first of many lies. From day one, I got all the worst assignments. While local workers got reasonable tasks with proper breaks, I was shuffled between the most difficult and dangerous jobs. The scaffolding became my second home, 40 feet in the air, hauling materials that should have required two people. The site manager, the taskmaster, was the worst part. This man had no concept of planning or priority. I'd be in the middle of securing important structural components, and my phone would buzz. The taskmaster would text me to stop whatever I was doing and come down. He'd say he needed me to move paint cans to the north side. I'd climb down, move his paint cans, climb back up, and just as I'd start working again, he'd message asking where I was. He'd explain that a client was visiting and he needed someone to clean the front entrance. At first, I tried being reasonable. During one morning when he'd called me 5 times in 2 hours for unrelated tasks, I walked up to him. I told him that I was having trouble completing anything because I kept getting pulled to different jobs. I asked if we could prioritize what needed to be done first. The taskmaster told me that I was being paid to do what he told me to do when he told me to do it. He said if that was a problem for me, he could find someone else who needed the job. The threat was clear. He knew my visa was tied to this employment. If I lost this job, I'd have to leave the country. My family back home depended on the money I sent. I couldn't risk it, but I wasn't completely powerless. I developed a system. When his calls started coming in, I'd silence my phone. When he sent messages, I'd read them, but not respond. This forced him to climb the scaffolding to find me if he wanted something. No small effort for a man who spent most of his day in the air-conditioned site office. When he finally reached me, he complained that he'd been calling me for 20 minutes and demanded to know why I wasn't answering. I would apologize and explain that I was focused on finishing my section and that the noise was too loud to hear my phone. He would then tell me about some new task like unloading a truck that had just arrived. I would promise to finish securing the section I was working on first, explaining it was a safety issue and saying I'd come down when I was done. I'd take my time finishing whatever I was working on. Sometimes I'd stretch a 15-minute job into an hour. It was petty, but it was the only control I had. The real turning point came when my application for permanent residency was approved. After 18 months of being the taskmaster's personal punching bag, I finally had options. The day my permanent visa card arrived in the mail, I wrote my 2-week notice. The taskmaster was furious when I handed it to him. He ranted about how after everything the company had done for me, this was how I repaid them. I told him that I appreciated the opportunity but had found a position that better matched my qualifications. Those 2 weeks were the most satisfying of my life. The taskmaster had no power over me. When he'd call, I'd take my time responding. When he'd assign me urgent tasks, I'd nod and then find a quiet corner of the site to rest. Some days, I'd spend an hour or two in the bathroom, scrolling through job listings on my phone. What was he going to do? Fire me? My new job was everything the old one wasn't. Fair pay, reasonable expectations, and co-workers who treated me like a human being. The company specialized in commercial renovations, and the owner, an immigrant himself, who had built his business from nothing, valued my engineering background. About 3 months into my new position, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I answered the phone, and the person on the other end introduced himself as my current boss. He said sorry for bothering me after hours and explained that he had a question about a potential hire. I told him it was no problem and asked how I could help. He explained that someone had applied that day claiming to be a site manager at my previous company, the Taskmaster. Since I had worked there, my boss wanted to get my opinion before moving forward with the application. I paused for a moment. This was unexpected. I could lie and say he was great, or I could exaggerate his flaws, but neither felt right. I told my boss that I had worked directly under the taskmaster for over a year. I explained how he had difficulty with planning and prioritization, and how he would pull workers off important tasks for trivial matters, which created safety issues and delayed projects. I also mentioned that he treated immigrant workers differently than local ones. My boss asked me what I meant by differently. I explained that immigrant workers were given harder jobs, longer hours, and more dangerous conditions. I pointed out that the taskmaster knew we couldn't complain because of our visa situations. My boss said this was concerning, especially since half of our current crew were immigrants. I suggested that if he was looking for someone who could manage a diverse team fairly, the taskmaster might not be the best fit. My boss thanked me. 2 days later, I saw the taskmaster's job application in the rejection pile on the owner's desk. I felt no guilt. I hadn't lied or exaggerated. I told the truth about a man who had made my life miserable for over a year. I didn't have to seek revenge or plot against the taskmaster. All I had to do was answer a question when asked. As for the taskmaster, I heard he's now working at a much smaller operation with fewer benefits and lower pay. I worked for the planogram team at my local Target. A planogram team sets up and takes down store displays and fixtures. We updated product labels, built display models, and made sure everything looked how corporate wanted. I've been on the team for almost a year. The job paid better than most retail positions, and I liked transforming messy sections into organized ones. My supervisor was great too. In February, our team got 6 weeks of overnight shifts. We had to gut and replace 3 departments: home goods and furniture, hardware, automotive, and toys. Management promised extra help, especially for home goods and furniture. Those displays had heavy models on elevated shelves about 7 feet high. They also said we'd get plans well before starting. None of that happened. We finished toys and hardware, automotive, within a day of the deadline without extra help. It was tiring but doable. Then came home goods and furniture. We didn't get plans until our shift started. Instead of 6 weeks, we were told everything needed to be done in one night. Here's what we had to do. Remove all old display models. Take them to the trash compactor. Remove shelves and industrial carpet glued to them. Clean shelves before shipping to another store. Take apart furniture for the trash compactor. Build new furniture displays. Put them on new furniture flats. Management promised 4 to 6 more employees to help with heavy lifting. We got nothing. Not one extra person showed up. My supervisor, I'll call her Sergeant because of her military background, was mad. I'd never seen her angry before. Sergeant was 6 feet 2 inches and built like a tank from her army years. She tried calling the general manager and assistant managers, but they'd all gone home and nobody answered. 5 of us had to do work that needed 10 to 12 people. We knew it was impossible. I watched Sergeant climb on a furniture flat. She stood there staring at the security camera on the ceiling. Then she kicked a fake cherrywood end table off the flat and jumped down after it. The table broke into pieces when it hit the floor. She stomped those pieces into smaller pieces. Sergeant asked what the instructions said about old display models. I checked the list and told her we should take them apart and take the pieces to the compactor to make them easier to compact. Sergeant told our team that's exactly what we would do. I climbed onto a flat and pushed a 3-shelf particle board bookcase with fake walnut finish. It fell to the floor with a crash. I jumped down and stomped on the back, breaking through the particle board. Then I used my hammer to smash the sides. The cheap bookcase broke apart instantly. For 45 minutes, we took turns climbing on each furniture flat, knocking down displays and destroying them. It was fun and felt good after weeks of being overworked. We weren't being destructive without reason. We were following instructions to take apart the furniture. We just chose the most satisfying way to do it. After our demolition, we swept up the remains and loaded them into 2 large tubs, which we left by the compactor. We got all the old displays down and put up new fixtures. We couldn't remove the carpet from old shelves since it was glued down and we had no solvent. We left new displays in boxes. There wasn't time to put everything together. Sergeant waited for the morning assistant manager at 6 a.m., then let him have it. The assistant manager asked what happened and why everything wasn't assembled. Sergeant told him we'd been given an impossible task with no help. She reminded him management promised extra help but gave none, and turned a 6-week job into one night. She said the regional manager would hear about this. When I came to work the next night, the new furniture was already assembled and on the new displays. The regional manager had apologized to our team. Sergeant had called him in the morning to report how we'd been set up to fail. We got a free pizza dinner for our trouble. It seemed small compared to what we'd been through, but it was something. I left Target 2 months later and moved out of state. Sergeant retired 6 months after that. I wonder if our furniture demolition party helped her decide to retire. When I walk through furniture departments now, I smile thinking about the night we destroyed an entire department of display furniture, while following instructions exactly. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.